Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. We ask your patience this evening. The air conditioner went out at about 3:30 this afternoon. Of little consolation, I've been told by Mr. Lowe that it will be fixed tomorrow. So hopefully...
Can we meet tomorrow?
We can meet tomorrow. We postponed the meeting. Okay, clerk, would you please call the roll and read the announcement?
Please be advised, this meeting is being taped for video and audio broadcast. Assisted listening devices are available. Mr. Bonifant. Mr. Corsello.
Here.
Mr. Hempstead.
Here.
Mr. Kimmel.
Here.
Mr. Sachinelli.
Here.
Ms. Melendez.
Here, and also, can everyone just speak into their microphone, because this fan, we won't be able to hear you over here. Just saying. Okay.
Mr. Sarasas.
Here.
Ms. Bowman.
Here.
Mr. Sims.
Present.
Mr. Kites.
Here.
Ms. Maggio.
Present.
Mr. De Palma.
Here.
Ms. O'Toole Jindurko.
Here.
Mr. Igneri.
Here.
Mr. Livingston. 13 present.
13 present, 2 not present. We have a quorum. First item on the agenda is acceptance of the minutes of the regular meeting July 12th of 2016. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Mr. Sims moves the minutes. Any corrections, additions, deletions? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions?
Ms. Maggio was not at the meeting, so she...
Okay, well, 12 in favor and 1 absent. Yes, Mr. De Palma?
Oh, just abstain.
Mr. De Palma is going to abstain. Minutes are approved. Resignations and appointments. As you can see, we have a resignation from the Oak Hills Park Authority, Mr. Paul Safadi. Appointments, we have Benjamin F. Luce, purchasing agent. Do I have a motion? Mr. Igneri.
Would you like me Mr. Luce is our new purchasing agent who I just met, and I was asking him to go and buy us a new air conditioner. But he has great credentials, as you can see here, and I think he'll be a great addition to the staff.
Any further discussion? I would just also like to echo and welcome Mr. Luce aboard. I know that we've been operating short-staffed in the purchasing department, and I'd like to give a shout-out to Sharon Connors, the assistant purchasing agent, for really holding the fort down and doing a great job while we were on our search. So, seeing no further discussion, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Congratulations. Next item, appointment to the Zoning Commission of Michael Witherspoon. Thank you. Let's go back one step. Public participation. I know it's hot in here, so maybe my minutes melted. I couldn't see.
Elsa Peterson Obachowski.
Really can't hear.
Yeah. Hold on. We might need to lower it.
We really can't hear over here.
Like standing in a hurricane here with the van. Hi. Thank you very much. My name is Elsa Peterson Obachowski. I'm a member of the Oak Hills Park Authority, and in that capacity, I also chair the Oak Hills Park Nature Advisory Committee. And I understand that tonight the council will be considering on the consent calendar the Turco Golf vendor's bid to renovate the Oak Hills Park golf course. And I'm speaking to remind the council that in that vein, we will soon also have a vendor's bid to transform the garden areas, which are currently 2 fields of weeds, into a beautiful fountain garden and great lawn at Oak Hills Park, where people of all ages can come for events, exercise, and simply to relax in nature. And our Nature Advisory Committee has worked very closely with the landscape architect vendor and also with Mr. Jim Schell and Mr. Alan Lowe and others. And we were very excited about the site modifications, which among other improvements will make the existing woodland nature trail more accessible. And the planting plan, which comprises an ecologically sound mix of native, drought-tolerant, disease-resistant, pollinator, and other sustainable plant species with varied heights, shapes, colors, and bloom times. So it's going to be really fabulous. And we want to promote the use of those garden areas for educational, arts, and cultural events and activities so that Oak Hills Park can truly be enjoyed and appreciated by everyone in the community. And last but not least, I'd like to thank Paul Shafati, who I understand is resigning, as you just said, from the authority tonight. I've really enjoyed working with Paul, and I know that we all have, and we want to wish him well in his future endeavors. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Obachowski. Any further, there's nobody else signed up to address the council. Does anybody else wishes to have comments relative to anything that may be on the agenda this evening? Seeing none, I'll close the public participation session. Now we'll go down to continue the appointments. Michael Witherspoon is currently serving as a zoning alternate, and it's recommended that he be moved up into the regular position. Do I have a motion? Mr. Sims.
Yes, Mayor, thank you. I know Michael Witherspoon for quite some time. He's a lifelong resident of the city of Norwalk. Michael is also a practicing real estate attorney here in the city of Norwalk, and as the mayor alluded to, that Michael currently serves as an alternate on the zoning commission. I think Michael, he's a forward thinker, and I think he'll be a great addition to serve in this capacity. So I move his name forward.
Thank you. Any further discussion? I would like to share Councilman Sims' echo his sentiments. I know Michael's been serving as an alternate. He's had opportunities to watch the meetings, learn how the zoning commission operates, and with his background as a land use attorney, I'm sure that he'll do a great job. So thank you, Mr. Sims. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? Opposed? So carried. Thank you. Next item on the agenda, Mr. Lou Schulman. For the position of zoning commissioner, regular. Do I have a motion? Mr. Kimmel.
Yeah, I'd like to move the appointment of Mr. Schulman. He's done a terrific job working for the city for quite a long time. He recently retired from our, basically I just associate him with our buses, which are all over the city and doing a fairly decent job. So I'm sure he'll do a good job as a zoning regular, and I hope he receives the necessary support. Thank you.
Thank you. Further discussion? Mr. Hempstead.
I'm going Mr. Schulman at a time. I wish you got more in a hurry. But I don't think there's anybody else probably has traveled as much around Norwalk as Mr. Schulman has, knows Norwalk. And I know from the way he ran the transit district for 5 years, everything. He's very meticulous what he does. He does well research. He ran a very good transit district. One of the best ones I think.
Thank you. Further discussion? Mr. Sarasis.
I don't know Mr. Schulman very well, but I've known him for a long time. And before I get voted into office, I did a little experiment, and I rode the bus for 1 year straight. And I have to admit that he developed an environment in our public transit system that is above and beyond, down to every bus driver being considerate. Not just keeping schedules and things like that, but, you know, being the one time I think in a year I took the bus where it was late, it was 3 bus drivers trying to help a man that they knew had Alzheimer's, and just that alone makes me realize that it comes from the top, and for an entire organization like the transit system to have this, and over 1 year I think there was one bad apple, and it was on the last day I rode the bus, but it was 99.9% from top to bottom, a well-run transit system, and he has my approval for sure.
Thank you. Any further discussion? When Mr. Schulman retired from the transit district, one of the first things he did was approach me and say, look, I'm willing to offer my services for the city of Norwalk, and that's unique in and of itself because the zoning commission and other boards and commissions do take some amount of time and commitment, so I want to thank him as well. Seeing no further discussion, all in favor? Opposed? Carries. Congratulations. And to Mr. Witherspoon as well. I don't think he's here, is he? No. Oh, he's away, okay. Next item is Zoning Commissioner, Mr. James Kahn. Mr. Kimmel?
I'd like to make a motion that we table this appointment to the next regular scheduled council meeting.
Okay, Mr. Kimmel has made a motion to table, which is not debatable. All in favor? Okay, let's see the hands again. Okay, opposed. So it carries 12 to 1. 1 opposed and 12 in favor. Next item on the agenda is the appointment of a zoning commission alternate for Galen Wells. Do we have a motion? Ms. Melendez.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to move Galen Wells for the Zoning Commission as an alternate. She is a West Norwalk native, a lawyer. She cares about Norwalk, and I've known her for the last 3 years, and in my experience, she puts so much effort into everything she does, and she not only cares about Norwalk right now, but she cares about Norwalk's future. And I think she'd be a great addition to the Zoning Commission, so I put her name forward.
Further discussion. Mr. Igneri.
I would like to agree with Ms. Melendez. She is a tireless worker behind the scenes. I've known her for a few years now, and I want to thank her for all her help.
Further discussion. I'll also say that, I believe Ms. Wells also served on the Zoning Commission in the past, if I'm correct. Served on the Zoning Commission in the past. She's also an attorney who's willing to give her services to the city of Norwalk in that capacity, and I'm sure she'll hit the ground running with her past experience. So, all in favor? Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Next item on the agenda is the appointment of Cindy Casuto, Zoning Commission alternate. Mr. Kimmel.
I'd like to make a motion to table that appointment to the next regular scheduled council meeting.
Mr. Kimmel has made a motion to table that appointment recommendation. Motion to table is not debatable. Do we, all in favor? Opposed? So it carries 11 to 2. Thank you. Next item on the agenda is the appointment of Nora King to the Planning Commission. Do I have a motion? Mr. Igneri.
I have known Nora for about 8 years now, and I've come to realize that she has a vast knowledge in real estate. She's had 15 years of experience appraising both residential and commercial properties. She does a great job. In addition, she's active in our community. She's been on the Common Council, she's been on the Zoning Commission, and she's in the PTA. So she's giving back to our city, and I think we should welcome her on the Planning Commission.
Further discussion. Seeing none, I would echo those sentiments also. Again, welcome back, Nora, wherever you are. There you are, okay. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Next appointment is Mr. George Serenides from the Planning Commission. Do I have a motion? Mr. Kites.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. Yes, I'd like to move the name George Serenides, not just because I'm the only one in the caucus that can pronounce his last name.
I did fairly well. I did
Yeah,
fairly
you did
well.
okay then.
Hey, wait a minute.
Well, oh, I'm sorry. I forgot a fellow Greek here. But I've had the opportunity to know Mr. Serenides for over 20 years, and during that time, I've seen him raise 3 great kids. He's a lifetime Norwalker, a successful business owner here in Norwalk, and I think he's going to do a fantastic job.
Thank you. Further discussion. Ms. Maggio.
May I echo a little bit what Mr. Katie said? I also can pronounce your last name. I think when somebody our age with thriving businesses, young families, and decides to give up some of their private time to run for a commission purely on a volunteer basis, I think either that person is a little bit crazy or really cares about their community. George happens to be a little bit of both, but thank you, George, for running. I think you're going to be a great fit for this. Being a lifelong Norwalker and with businesses in the pulse of the city, you'll be excellent at this job. Thank you.
Thank you. Further discussion? Mr. Neri.
I'd just like to echo Michelle Maggio's comments. I agree. He's a small businessman, and the city of Norwalk, he really knows the city. It's someone we need.
Any further discussion? I also know Mr. Serenides, and he does have 2 businesses that he opened in Norwalk, both very successful, both in South Norwalk, and I'm sure that he'll be committed to making sure that Norwalk becomes everything that it can possibly be, because a lot of the success of his business will hinge on that. So, seeing no further discussion, all in favor? Opposed? Carries unanimously. Last appointment, Mr. Glenn Iannacone to the Historical Commission. Mr. Hempstead.
Well, known Glenn for 2 years, but I think his resume speaks volumes about his commitment to Norwalk. I really do. I mean, when you look at all the things that he has volunteered for, been involved in, I think it speaks volumes to his commitment to the city, which he's lived his entire life in. But I also know that historical commission is a passion for Glenn, and I think that's what brings an expertise to the table from a fire marshal and all those other volumes, but it also brings the extreme passion to try and preserve Norwalk's history. And it's a very good.
Thank you. Further discussion? Ms. O'Toole Giandirko.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Glenn's another person who doesn't know how to do retirement well. I think you signed up for more things since you retired from the fire department, but we're happy to see you back on and getting involved with something else. So thank you.
Further discussion?
I'm just going to chime in and echo those remarks. It was great serving with Glenn the last 2 years on the council. I got to know him very well, and I consider him a good friend of mine. And like Shannon, Ms. O'Toole Giandirko was saying, you volunteer for everything. You got a huge heart, and so thanks for doing this.
Any further discussion? I also know that it's a good appointment because Glenn does our walk on Saturday morning frequently, and we got in a discussion about World War II and history, and if anybody knows history and the different wars, Glenn does. So he's a student of history as well. So all in favor, please signify by saying aye or raise your hand.
Firsthand, right, Glenn?
Any abstentions?
Oh, sorry. No.
All the
Thank
Sorry.
A motion carries unanimously, and congratulations to all the appointees. Right after, pardon me? You want to do it now? All right, if you'd like to come down over to the podium, we'll administer the oath of office to those that are here. So if you'll come on down and get in line. Yeah, go ahead, shake.
Well, you steer Travis.
All right.
Come on, Mick.
Congratulations, Nora.
This is the procession.
Appointed as a member of the Planning Commission of the City of Norwalk, do solemnly swear or affirm that you will faithfully and impartially discharge the duties of said office according to your best skill and judgment. So help you God, or upon the pains and penalties.
Congratulations.
You must be dying in the check. No, but now. You look good.
Should have taken a picture of that.
No.
Donna, go ahead. Donna. You did that hand-raising thing? I just did. Oh, you did? All right, I got it. Can you send that to me?
Galen?
Really,
You, Galen, member of the Zoning Commission of the City of Norwalk, do solemnly swear or affirm that you will faithfully and impartially discharge the duties of said office according to your best skill and
Είμαστε στην Αμερική, δε. Δεν είμαστε στην Ελλάδα ή στη φυλακή.
Can you pronounce it though? That's the important part.
I don't know, I stutter when I get up there. The crazy part? Yeah, I know. Congrats.
having been appointed as a member of the Zoning Commission of the City of Norwalk.
Deserves it. Well.
You will faithfully and impartially discharge the duties of said office according to your best skill and judgment.
You know what you're getting yourself into?
The Washington walk, and there's one other item, your naming the driveway. That's all. That's all.
Dynamic. You got a lot of new people. So it's good. It's great. Well, you were on there before. You'll be.
That's good. Nice, man. Congratulations. Oh, you did a good job. Except for one bonehead. You did a great job.
Thanks for saying this, sir. So much pleasure. Thank you for doing this. A lot of work. Congratulations.
See you around at
It's exciting.
Congratulations.
Congratulations. Congratulations.
I don't know. I don't even know what. Did everybody go through once?
Congratulations.
Congratulations, Glenn.
Kind
Thank
of.
you for doing it.
You're supposed to take it easy.
I want to award you this plaque.
Did everybody read already? Yeah. Yeah, I had that like marathon calendar. I have no idea. Did you read the consent calendar already too? Yeah. I read it once.
Congratulations.
Yes, I have.
Congrats. What a good fit for you.
You brought your own frame?
How come he's going?
What is that?
He probably missed one. Oh, okay. Well, Livingston is next week.
Yeah. All right, we'll continue on with the meeting. The next item on the agenda is the mayor's comments. I think we've all been following the newspaper and know the successes of our own Cal Ripken All-Stars, who are now in Florida playing in the Cal Ripken World Series. From last tally, I think they are 2-1. That puts them in the championship bracket, and they'll be continuing on playing for the next couple of days and see how they fare. But regardless of where they go, they've distinguished themselves, and they've made Norwalk very proud. So I want to thank them, follow them in the newspaper, and when they come home, let's give them a resounding welcome back and congratulations. As most of you know now, by now, every Saturday morning, my wife and I have the Walk With Us program. This weekend, we are going to be walking the East Norwalk route, beginning at Merrimack School. It is a 2-mile route. Be sure to bring your sunscreen and your water bottles because it can get rather hot this time of the year. But it's a lot of fun and a lot of opportunities to meet some new friends and see different parts of Norwalk that perhaps you've been driving through and not had an opportunity to walk through. So
I'll be there.
yeah, right. Your wife and your kids have shown up, but you never have.
They're in spirit.
Tomorrow, Wednesday, August 10th. Obviously, we have a good concert at the beach, but before that, we have, for free, everybody can learn the Hands for Our Life program, where you learn hands-only CPR, and you'll also learn how to use an AED, automatic external defibrillator, and it takes about 10 minutes. And it's a worthwhile program endorsed and adopted by the American Red Cross. And believe me, if you ever need it, you're going to be happy that you've learned it. It only takes a few minutes, and you very well may save somebody's life. On Tuesday, August 16th, the state of Connecticut will hold a public information meeting regarding plans for the West Rocks Bridge over Merritt Parkway. It'll be at 6 p.m. in the community room of City Hall here. I think we all remember the East Rocks Bridge that was out of commission for quite some time. So if you have any interest or will be affected by that bridge, you may want to come in and hear what the state plans are. Last but not least, I think that's last, heads up, the Citizens Police Academy is starting up again. It'll be run every Monday and Wednesday evening for 6 weeks, beginning on September 14th and continuing through October 24th. It's really a great opportunity for our citizens and our elected officials to learn about the police department and the different kinds of things that they do. I've heard from so many people after they've gone through the academy that they were really, really impressed with the level of experience and the expertise of our police officers, our men and women in blue, and it's always been a great experience. And then at the end of the academy, I believe there's an opportunity for you to ride with a police officer on patrol and kind of get a feel for what happens on a daily basis. We also have done junior police academies at Briggs, and we've done some training at Norwalk High School in forensics. So it's the police department reaching out and making connections with young people and building relationships. And I believe from the Briggs Academy alone, we have 3 or 4 young people that have expressed an extreme interest in becoming police officers. So it's like planting our own little garden and growing our own homegrown police officers, which will no doubt make Norwalk an even better police department. So that'll be beginning on September 14th, continuing through October 24th. I believe it's about 2.5, 3 hours a night. Okay, I think 2 hours a night. So it's not a big commitment. Okay, Mr. Kimmel.
Harry?
Yes,
I just wanted to make a reminder through the Recreation and Parks Department, we have 3 other concerts that are free during the week. We have Tuesday night open jam in Freeze Park. We have Approaching Normal playing Thursday night in Matthews Park, and Uncle Zach and the Zactones Friday at the beach. And those concerts, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, go on throughout the summer until Labor Day.
Thank you very much for that reminder. You have to do that every 2 weeks.
I spent 2.5 years setting it up with Mike McKay.
Okay. Well, again, thank you very much. Now, Mr. Kimmel.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We're going to have to add a new item on the agenda called Music in Norwalk. It'll come every 2 weeks after the mayor's remarks. And
The sound of Norwalk.
And Mr. Sarasis, I'm sure you'll handle it superbly, okay? Sound of Connecticut. We'll call it the Sound of Connecticut. Okay. Before we get into the consent calendar, there's been some good news, fiscally speaking, for the city. Quickly, our tax sale, the final numbers are being calculated, still being calculated. It was very successful. We generated a lot of income for the city, and it was a good thing. The city ended up with a budget surplus of $2.3 million. That'll go back into the general fund and hopefully enable us next year to craft a very good budget with a small tax increase. Last week we refunded our outstanding bonds. We refunded them at a lower interest rate. We saved about $900,000 over the next 12 years, which is, again, a good thing for the city. Also, we were able to fund $22 million in our new bonds at an interest rate under 1.88%, which is going to help us out again in the future when we craft capital budgets. I bring those 2 items up because sometimes we hear folks poo-poo the AAA bond rating we have. That bond rating enables us to do a lot of things that we would not otherwise be able to afford. And it's critical that we be mindful of that rating when we craft our budgets, when we meet with auditors, and we move ahead in the world of finance. One last point, a shout out to the Manresa Island Association. It's a coalition of about 60 organizations. They've been working with the city, with the mayor, on trying to figure out how the city can best get a handle on what will ultimately happen to those 125 acres, most of which has been contaminated. But an RFP has recently gone out so we can devise for the city an economic impact analysis so we can come up with some kind of idea what we would like to see happen to those 125 acres that are sitting out there now with an unused power plant. So again, shout out to those folks who are doing an excellent job, terrific job, and they're from all over the city. With that, let me hand the consent calendar over to Shannon O'Toole Gianderco, and next meeting will be Richard Bonifant's turn to read it. Thank you.
All right. Here's our consent calendar for this evening. Item 6B, Board of Estimate and Taxation. Item 1, resolve that a sum not to exceed $8,557 be and the same is hereby transferred from increased estimated revenues to the police department to cover the cost of police special services overtime work on state and federal cases. Recreation and Parks. Item 7A, 1A. Authorize the Mayor, Harry W. Rilling, to enter into an agreement with Gordon Fine Arts for the use of 50 Washington Plaza, Washington Street, North-South Main, and surrounding streets, along with Vets Park for parking, for an arts festival to be held on Saturday, August 5th, 2017, 10 a.m. to 9 p.m., and Sunday, August 6th, 2017, 10 a.m. to 6 p.m., set up to take place 5:30 a.m. Saturday, August 5th, 2017, with tear down no later than 8 p.m. Sunday, August 6, 2017. Estimated attendance 7,500. Item 7A-B1, authorize Gordon Fine Arts the use of the Showmobile for Arts Festival to take place Saturday, August 5, 2017, and Sunday, August 6, 2017 on Washington Street. Item 7A2, authorize the Mayor, Harry W. Rilling, to enter an agreement with Gordon Fine Arts for the use of Matthews Park for the Norwalk Art Festival to be held Saturday, June 24th, 2017, and Sunday, June 25th, 2017, from 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. each day, set up to take place Friday, June 23rd, 2017 at 6 a.m., with teardown no later than 12 noon on Monday, June 26th, 2000, and that should be 17, estimated attendance 750. Item 7A3, authorize the Mayor, Harry W. Rilling, to enter into an agreement with the New England Auto Museum to use Matthews Park for a Father's Day car show to be held Sunday, June 18, 2017, from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m., set up to take place Sunday, June 18, 2017 at 8 a.m., with teardown no later than noon on Monday, June 19, 2017, estimated attendance 1,000. 7A4, authorize the Mayor, Harry W. Rilling, to enter into an agreement with Wolf Pit School PTO to use the grounds of Wolf Pit School for a pumpkin festival to be held Saturday, October 8th, 2016, from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m., with a rain date of Sunday, October 9th, 2016, estimated attendance 1,000. Item 7A5, authorize the Mayor, Harry W. Rilling, to enter into an agreement with the Human Services Council for the use of Taylor Farm for a Kids Fest, Touch-a-Truck, and more to be held Saturday, October 8th, 2016, from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m., set up to take place Friday, October 7th, 2016 at noon, with teardown no later than noon on Sunday, October 9th, 2016, estimated attendance 500 plus. Item 7A6A, authorize the Mayor, Harry W. Rilling, to enter into an agreement with Riccio Landscaping, LLC, project number 3692, Flax Hill Park Utility Improvements, for a sum not to exceed $42,850. Account is noted. Item 7A-B6, authorize the Director of Recreation and Parks to issue change orders to project number 3692, Flax Hill Park Utility Improvements, for a sum not to exceed $4,280. Accounts are noted. Item 7A7, authorize the purchasing agent to issue a purchase order to M.E. O'Brien and Sons for a new calf pasture beach playground equipment for a sum not to exceed $69,639. Account is noted. Item 7A8, authorize the purchasing director to issue purchase order to Concrete Creations LLC, project number 3694, installation of playground equipment, Calf Pasture Beach, for a sum not to exceed $22,000. Account is noted. Finance Committee. Item 7B1, accept and approve the report of the Claims Committee dated July 14, 2016. Item 7B2, for informational purposes only, narrative on tax collections dated July 14, 2016. 7B3, for informational purposes only, monthly tax collectors report dated June 30th, 2016. Item 7B5, authorize the purchasing agent to issue purchase order in accordance with the city procurement guidelines for the supply of personal computer workstations, laptops, ruggerized data terminals, tablets, printers, and obsolete asset disposal according to city IT department specifications for an amount not to exceed $151,813.60. Account is noted. Item 7B6, authorize the purchasing agent to issue purchase orders to E+ Technology for the procurement of Cisco LAN switches for City Hall and Health Department for an amount not to exceed $50,000. Account is noted. Health, Welfare, and Public Safety. Item 7C1, approve the Health Department fee schedule as set by the Director of Health with the concurrence of the Board of Health at their June 28, 2016 meeting. Item 7C2A, authorize the Mayor, Harry W. Rilling, to execute all documents necessary to apply for and accept funds from the State of Connecticut Department of Public Health to implement a lead poison prevention program for the period of July 1st, 2016 to June 30th, 2017, in the amount of $16,406. Item 7C2B, authorize the Mayor, Harry W. Rilling, to execute any and all agreements, documents, instruments, or amendments as may be necessary to implement a lead poison prevention program for the period of July 1st, 2016 to June 30th, 2017. 7C3A, authorize the purchasing agent to execute a purchase order on behalf of the Norwalk Police Department to Crowley Ford for the purchase of two 2017 Ford Fusions for the amount not to exceed $37,000. Account is noted. 7C3B, authorize the purchasing agent to execute a purchase order on behalf of the Norwalk Police Department to Fleet Auto Sales for the upfit of two 2017 Ford Fusions for the amount not to exceed $7,000. Account is noted. 7CA4, authorize the purchasing agent to execute a purchase order on behalf of the Norwalk Police Department to MHQ, the low bidder, for the purchase of 8 2017 Ford Utility Interceptors for the amount not to exclude $228,000. Account is noted. 7C4B, authorize the purchasing agent to execute a purchase order on behalf of the Norwalk Police Department to Fleet Auto Supply, the low bidder, for the upfit for 8 2017 Police Utility Interceptors for the amount not to exceed $99,000. 7C4C, authorize the purchasing agent to execute a purchase order on behalf of the Norwalk Police Department to Motorola, the low bidder, for the mobile radios for 8 2017 Ford Utility Police Interceptors for the amount not to exceed $39,000. Account is noted. 7C5, authorize the purchasing agent to execute a purchase order on behalf of the Norwalk Police Department to Max BMW Motorcycles for the purchase of two 2016 BMW motorcycles for the amount not to exceed $40,000. Account is noted. Public Works. 7D1, authorize the purchasing agent to issue a purchase order to Bridgehaven Ford Truck Sales, L. Inc., DBA Gabrielli Truck Sales in Milford, for the purchase of two 2015 Mack plow trucks for a sum not to exceed $428,924. Accounts are noted. 7D2A, authorize the Mayor, Harry W. Rilling, to execute an agreement with McVac Environmental Services for a project DRG 2016 storm drain cleaning of Martin Luther King JR Box Culverts for a sum not to exceed $270,125. 7D2B, authorize the Public Works Director to execute orders on contract with Back Environmental Services, Inc. for Project DRG 2016 Storm Drain Cleaning of Martin Luther King Jr. Box Culverts for a sum not to exceed $27,012.50. Account is noted. 7D3A, authorize the Mayor, Harry W. Rilling, to execute an agreement with M. Redondo, Inc. for Project DRG 2016-2 Storm Drain Improvements at Fodor Farm, Aviation Court, and Soundview Avenue for a sum not to exceed $365,495. 7D3B, authorize the Director of Public Works to execute orders on contract with M. Rotondo, Inc. for Project DRG 2016-2 Storm Drain Improvements at Fodor Farm, Aviation Court, and Soundview Avenue for a sum not to exceed $36,549.50. Accounts are noted. Land use. 7E2A, authorize the Mayor, Harry W. Rilling, to execute an agreement with Turco Golf, Inc. for the Oak Hills Park Golf Course Improvement Project for a total not to exceed $980,413.75. Account is noted. 7E2B, authorize the Office of Building Management, with concurrence with the Oak Hills Park Authority, to issue change orders on contract for a total not to exceed $20,000. 7E3A, authorize the Mayor, Harry W. Rilling, to execute an agreement with CCM Construction Services, Inc. for the City Hall roof replacement project for a total not to exceed $1,097,275. Account is noted. 7E3B, authorize the Office of Building Management to issue change orders on contract for a total not to exceed $109,727. And that is the consent calendar, Mr. Mayor, and I urge for its adoption.
Thank you. That was very nice job. It's more difficult to read that than some of you in the audience may be aware of. There's a whole lot of numbers and accounts and everything that she had to make a decision to whether or not to read it or not, and to somehow circumvent all the legal stuff and all that to make it reasonable. And she did an excellent job. Now, are there does anybody want to change anything in the consent calendar? Anything to remove? Okay, hearing none. All those in favor of the consent calendar as beautifully read, please raise their hands. Thank you. It passes unanimously. For anybody who heard the item that they're here for read, that means the item is passed and you're free to leave this very comfortable environment we have here. Thank you very much for coming.
Bruce, you're going to do the Corporation Council. Oh, I know. You made him stop.
Road going into the park.
Okay, thank you. So the first item not on consent is item 6A, Corporation Council, Mr. Kimmel.
Okay, authorization to settle a claim, Charles Chester v. City of Norwalk. I move we accept the recommendation from Corporation Council.
I have to recuse myself.
Mr. Sarasis?
I have to leave,
Okay.
right?
Please let the record reflect that Mr. Sarasis has left the building along with Elvis.
Elvis is coming back.
Mr. Kimmel moved the item. Any discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries. Mr. Sarasis, you can return.
Steve?
Next item on the agenda is 7B 4. Mr. Kimmel.
Okay, 7 before. I'd like to read the item and then speak to it and then make an amendment, if I may. Authorize the mayor, Harry W. Rilling, to execute any and all documents necessary for the tax agreement for the property taxes subject to revisions of the agreement between the City of Norwalk, the Housing Authority of the City of Norwalk, and Trinity Washington Village Phase 1 Limited Partnership. I'd like to move the item.
Mr. Kimball's moved the item.
Yes, Mayor, first I'd briefly like to speak to it. This is an interesting issue. We discussed it, and discussed it, and discussed it, and then there was a 2-year break while it was in court, and here we are today, and I think many of us are really happy to finally move forward on this. This is only phase 1 of the agreement. There are 3 phases. I'm not going to repeat what was said earlier, but I think it's going to be a great thing for South Norwalk, and a lot of issues we have to address, but I'm very pleased that we're finally before the council. Now, I would like to make an amendment
Mr. Kimball?
to the item. I would like to remove the words, let me say, authorize the taxes. I'd like to remove the words, subject to revisions. Remove the word subject to revisions in the first sentence. Then I would also like to add another sentence to the item. That sentence is, said agreement is subject to the transit-oriented redevelopment plan being approved by the Norwalk Redevelopment Agency pursuant to Connecticut General Statutes Section 8-127. Let me read that again. I am adding a second sentence to the item after removing those 3 words that I mentioned before. Said agreement is subject to the transit-oriented redevelopment plan being approved by the Norwalk Redevelopment Agency pursuant to Connecticut General Statute Section 8-127. So that's my amendment to the item.
Okay, Mr. Kimball has moved the item with an amendment. Do we vote on the amendment first and then the item? We'll vote on the amendment first as presented by Mr. Kimball. Any discussion on that?
So,
Ms. Maggio?
do you want to go first, Ty? Or
Sure. The TOD piece is new to me, but I was under the impression that the Choice neighborhood was not under the TOD, and it was its own district, almost like the Special Services District of Washington Street.
Ms. Belts-Jacobson, and
Would you step down to the mic?
I can hear.
I was just, from my understanding, the Choice neighborhood is separate from the TOD, almost like the Washington Special Services District that they've created. So I don't understand, so I don't know why we would attach the two.
The reason why we need to do that is the authorizing statute, which allows the council or the city to enter into such an agreement, has certain provisions, a prerequisite. And one of the prerequisites is that this has the area, which is the subject of the tax plan, needs to be included within a redevelopment plan, and that redevelopment plan has to have been approved pursuant to the Connecticut General Statutes 8-127. And currently, actually there is no current plan. The prior plan has expired, and this actually was not included within that prior plan. There's a new proposed plan that's pending, and that will be going through the approval process, and once that's done, then this will have complied with that requirement of the authorizing statute.
Tom? Are you aware of what the TOD says for the choice neighborhood?
Yes.
Okay, have you even looked at it? Because the TOD has started back expanding when I know all of these areas that it's expanding back to were removed from the TOD. So what does it say for the choice neighborhood?
Well, it just includes that as a linkage area to the transit hubs that exist there. In fact, the zoning designation for the property is a TOD zone, so that the property is very much consistent with the goals and objectives of the transit-oriented development plan.
So the special service district designation, the choice neighborhood designation, what does that limit in respect to the TOD? Because I know the special services district specifically formed to be exempt from certain things of the TOD. So, in the choice neighborhood is one neighborhood that's supposed to be protected and supposed to be price protected, meaning the homes will be rehabilitated and sold for affordable housing. Affordable at affordable levels. So, and we took it out of the TOD previously, or the last time I saw the TOD map, it had its special designation, and it was supposed to have some exemptions from the TOD. So I don't know why
I'm not familiar with any conflicts or limitations of those two overlay districts.
Does anyone have the TOD map? Because the TOD map has the choice neighborhood, Washington Street, and Townhouse Gardens, and they're exempt from everything that the TOD is doing in a lot of aspects. Meaning, those folks are never going to be priced out. So if we're putting the TOD back in this, then we're going backwards. So I'm not ready to vote on that.
I think that's a different issue in terms of what it sounds like what you're talking about is whether or not we should approve the redevelopment plan or the TOD.
Well, if you're attaching this item to the TOD, then
no, what we're saying. I'm sorry.
Right? I mean, that was the amendment.
Mr. Sheehan is next door. Mr. Coppola is going to get him. Well, perhaps he can shed some light on this. My memory, I don't know what map there's two things I remember. One, we had to do something similar with the mall. We could not have final approval to the mall until we updated the redevelopment plan in the particular area. He's not there? Number two, I remember a map. Now, it may be a map associated with this project, but what I do recall is that and I know there are some exemptions along Water Street that are not included in the TOD plan, but I don't know how far up they go. And in my mind, and I could be wrong. I remember visually seeing the Washington Village inside of the TOD. Again, I don't recall exactly what I saw, and it could be wrong. But we do have to have a redevelopment plan on the books according to general statutes before we move ahead doing this.
One distinction that can be drawn is that this tax agreement does not impact the choice neighborhood's designated area. This tax agreement solely deals with 2 of the 3 parcels that are being redeveloped as part of Washington Village. So the impact of the TOD would only have implications on the 2 Day Street properties that are being redeveloped and wouldn't affect anything beyond that. Because this tax, as Mr. Kimmel mentioned, this tax agreement is only for phase 1 of the housing development at Washington Village, so it's limited to those 2 pieces of real estate.
Thanks, Tom. So the TOD maps look something like this. You have the area within the TOD map. Washington Street is a Special Services District, WSSD. Choice Neighborhood is the Choice Neighborhood. The boatyards have come out across Water Street. The Choice Neighborhood is supposed to be exempt, which I don't understand why we're tying them together. same thing with, and I assume that was the purpose of these special services districts, to exempt them from the TOD so that they are not being, so that these folks are not being priced out. But once we tie it back to the TOD, and I don't, and especially if Tim's not here, I don't feel comfortable. I really don't feel comfortable with this. Because I need
Ms.
more
Jacobson.
explanation.
If I could explain why we're doing that, is that because the statutory authority that allows us to enter into a tax fixing agreement states that we can do so for properties that are being rehabilitated by virtue of the fact that they're within a redevelopment area that's been identified on a redevelopment plan. So it's really the mechanism that gives you the authority to fix the taxes on the property of these 80 units.
If I may, so you're saying, and again, I'm thinking about what we had to do with the mall. Without a redevelopment plan adopted by the city, we cannot move ahead with phase 1 of the project.
We can't move ahead with this agreement.
Right.
Yes.
Right. So there has to be some redevelopment plan, and the plan that we have now is the TOD plan. And now you spoke with Mr. Sheehan today about this, if I remember.
I did, yes.
And he's on board with this.
Yes, what we were trying to do is to find a way in which the agreement would fit within this statutory authority that the council has. And this seems the way in which we can fit it is it has to be in a redevelopment area which has been included in a redevelopment plan that's been approved by the agency pursuant to 8-127.
Which agency?
The redevelopment agency has to approve the plan.
So the Choice Neighborhoods plan is a plan. Can't they just approve the plan for the Choice Neighborhood without tying it back into the TOD?
I don't know how that works.
I'm not comfortable.
Is time of the essence on this?
I believe it is because of the phasing of the project for the developer. They're under a deadline to complete, is it complete by an October deadline?
And how does pushing this back 2 weeks impact it until we can get the answers that Ms. Bowman is seeking?
I can't.
Would that have a negative impact? August, 2 weeks from tonight. Yes. Mr. Kimmel?
Yeah, in a minute. A question, what possible adverse effects, my understanding of the TOD district was that, number one, we had a hodgepodge of zoning regulations down in that area of the city, which we had to get a handle on to allow us to do certain things. We finally were able to do that, the easiest way to do that, without having to go through the particular zoning regulations and how they apply all across the city, was to come up with, to devise an area that made sense. And we call it a transit-oriented district because of the train station in the area and so many people who commute. Now, what that has enabled us to do is to make sense, to develop a rational series of zoning regulations which we're going to use when we deal with so many things that came up with AMEC and all of that. We're going to be able, through the TOD district, to make that area, from the discussions we've had with TOD, make it more housing friendly, where we won't find ourselves in situations like we did with the AMEC carding. So my understanding now, whether there's a technical problem, whether it's in or not, is one thing. But my understanding of the TOD as a special district would be a good thing, in that it gives us somewhat more control over the zoning in that area, And it also enables us to move forward on this plan. If you remember, we spent all those months and months and months discussing whether we wanted, on the details surrounding the GGP project, the mall. And then at the last minute, we had to make sure that we had an update in redevelopment plan in place. And we did. I think we may have done both at the same meeting. I don't really know. It was a technicality. In that case, it just enabled us. It allowed the city to move from housing to retail in that area. To me, having the TOD plan in place, and if it does indeed include the Washington Village transformation plan, it does enable to us have a better handle on some of the surrounding housing and the zoning, the applicable zoning in that area. So my point is, I guess, I don't see how it could have an adverse impact. That's my point. And so I'm not sure what the concern is here.
But that just actually, when you just said that, that just rang a bell, because don't we have the CNI implementation plan with the CNI group? In which case, we have a plan, and it can go under its own plan, because it has a plan. So we don't have to put it under the TOD for it to be under a plan when it already has its own plan.
Well, it has to be a redevelopment plan that's been approved
So
specifically.
redevelopment can approve the plan.
But it has to be approved according to the statutory requirements. So I don't know if that other plan has gone through that same approval process.
Mr. Kimmel asked a question I think was rather interesting. What possible negative impact would that have, not only on Washington Village, but perhaps some of the surrounding?
If we were to adopt the TOD, if it were included in the TOD plan.
I don't know. I don't know that there would be.
Mr. Hempstead, I think you're next.
Just as a past history of this, this needs to be incorporated, and I realize when I was first like, why is he doing this? And I understand why Bruce is making the motion, because the TOD plan, which is coming up, I think, on the 23rd, it needs to be in place for this to happen, because there's all mechanisms of funding from HUD, et cetera, that is triggered and part and parcel of us adopting the plan. We talk about, we got a big discussion a few months ago about blight and all that kind of stuff, and the wording that had to go into some of the stuff. The mission behind this is you're taking an area that's ID, that is near transit hub of some kind, so it's easy for walkability. It also has public transportation in. And that new TOD plan is the new redevelopment plan that was in place before, which is expired. I think it was good for 20 years, and I think it's up, and that's why we're introducing a new plan. So the language needs to be in there, because until we adopt it, until the redevelopment agency adopted it, which I think was going to go part and parcel, hand in hand, after a committee that was back and forward, because when they go in for their application, they've got to show cause, and they got to show the ability to say the city of Norwalk has a plan in place. The plan identifies these properties, and they can pursue other sources of funding, or i.e. low interest or no interest loans. So it's real important that that gets incorporated, especially at this point, since the plan we're not voting on for another 2 weeks. So I didn't understand why you're doing it first, but I understand now, and I think it's important we kind of move this along, because if you don't put the plan in this, in reality, then this agreement isn't in place, because it's based on the new TOD plan. So I'm saying that. I'm with Bruce. I don't think we lose anything by moving this forward.
I'd like to move that we have a 5-minute recess.
Okay, all in favor? 5-minute recess, thank you. Okay, we're back in session. Mr. Sacchinelli?
I'd like to move that we suspend the current motion to take up item E1, land use, and courtesy to the Cody family.
Mr. Sacchinelli has moved that we suspend discussion temporarily on this item and move to take up the land use item with the naming of Joe Cody Way. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? So moved. Mr. Sacchinelli.
Item E1, approve the naming of Cranberry Park Entrance Drive as Joseph Cody Way in memory of Joe Cody, a longtime dedicated Parks Department employee.
Item's been moved. Discussion?
I'd just like to say, I know Mr. Cody's son, Joe, for over 20 years. I've only met Mr. Cody a few times, but one of those guys that everybody had a good thing to say, about, and, it's a really great honor that we're doing this for him, so. I'm
Thank
fully
you.
behind it.
Further discussion? Ms. O'Toole Giandirko.
Thank you guys for coming back. I know you guys came. We told you we couldn't do it yet, so thank you for sticking with us so we could do right by him. So thank you.
Yeah, just chime in real quick, and also thank you for your patience. I know this took a whole year. And that year, I've been able to hear so many great stories about your dad, and thank you.
I also knew Joe and knew him to be a very dedicated, longtime employee for the city of Norwalk. And, employees like Joe are the people that make Norwalk what it is, makes Norwalk shine. They're the people out there dealing with the public every single day. And they're the ones that, quite frankly, can make or break an organization. And Joe was one of the best, and certainly we feel your loss, we feel your pain, and we thank you for sharing him with us for all these years. So thank you.
Thank you for the kind words.
Thank you. No further discussion, all in favor? Opposed? Congratulations.
You're welcome.
Okay, now, Mr. Kimmel.
Don't we need all of us here for this one?
Yeah.
I'll go grab it.
Motion to adjourn.
I think they're in the hallway. I'll get it.
Mr. Sheehan.
Motion to get some AC up in here.
As long as there's not a ransom on that. Tim.
What? Nothing over there?
Any urge to slip one in? Are you revving your engine over there?
I think there's an FOI violation taking place out in the hall.
Hey, the only smart one that wears shorts. Yeah. Subpoena them. Come on. No, she's health, welfare, and safety.
These discussions should be taking place out here. Mario? They're coming because the discussions should be taking place in here.
Yeah. We might ask the same questions, though.
We're back in session.
So this is.
We should all be hearing the same thing.
Yep.
Or let's vote on it.
It's like one
Where's the charger now? Did he go to try?
So I opened it up.
Yes.
Harry was
Well, it's on the reason. Well, no,
dismissed.
Okay, so further, Mr. Kimmel.
Okay, I'd like, we're back in session. Okay, I'd like to call Mr. Sheehan to the podium. Mr. Sheehan, a couple things came up. First of all, I offered an amendment to the Washington and Village item, and this was the amendment. It's a sentence that says, Said agreement is subject to the transit-oriented redevelopment plan being approved by the Norwalk Redevelopment Agency pursuant to Connecticut Statute Section 8-127. So the question, among the questions that came up was, is Washington Village, or how did it come to be that Washington Village is part of the TOD plan? That's one of the questions, at least I have. And so the question is it?
Yes, it's always been part of the TOD.
Always.
Area. Actually, in terms of our application to HUD, it was recognized that this was a TOD initiative in terms of the redevelopment of Washington Village, given its proximity to the train station.
So in the maps that I recall seeing that with TOD that had, where we did exclude some of the waterfront, but when it went up, it did include Washington Village.
Yes. What we took out of the plan area was the east side of Water Street, which...
That's right, it was the east side, okay. Fine, I think that was my major question. Thank you.
Further discussion? Ms. Bowman?
Okay, so he did clarify that it was always in the TOD. So that settles that argument. But the point of the issue is the protection of folks' homes and their ability to stay there. So I think it's fine to say the TOD.
And I'm sure we all, and everybody appreciates your concern for that issue, and I think we all feel the same way and support that, and I'm glad you asked the questions and brought the issue up, so.
And thank you, Mr. Sheehan, for
And thank you, Mr. Sheehan, for running down.
How are you, Drake?
Is there any further discussion on this item?
This is the amendment.
On the amendment, I'm sorry, the item as amended. So all in favor of the item as amended? It carries unanimously. Now we vote on the item. Is there any further discussion? Mr. Hempstead.
No discussion. I just want to compliment, because this project is taken from the days it was called Project Hope. Many mayors, many councils, many different majorities on council. But from day one, everybody understood this was a game changer. South Norwalk was going to help the people who will hopefully come back. We're in Washington Village in an antiquated facility, and will bring a new life to that whole Water Street area. That it survived, because I think it's that important. It's a shame we lost a good year on a frivolous lawsuit, but I really thank everybody for continuing to support this project.
And as you mentioned, Washington Village is the oldest housing complex in the state, public housing complex in the state of Connecticut. I think most of us at one time or another have been inside, and the people that live there are certainly entitled to upgrades, certainly entitled to have their quality of life improved, and to live in a neighborhood where they can enjoy the neighborhood and their neighbors. So we're all excited about it. And seeing any further discussion?
Just one point.
Mr. Kimmel?
You know, there was a short window of time since the lawsuit officially disappeared, and I want to commend the Housing Authority and a variety of city agencies, including our law department, really had to work quickly and carefully on this agreement, and we appreciate all the hard work in a short period of time, because we did lose 2 years because of the legal challenge, and now we've got to move forward on this. So thank you very much.
Mr. Sarasis, was you?
No, I'm sweating from humidity, and I have shorts on.
No further discussion being seen. All in favor, please signify.
Aye.
Opposed? Carries unanimously. Thank you. Mr.
Igneri.
Igneri?
There being no other business, I make a motion to adjourn.
Are we all in favor?
Aye.
We're adjourned. Thank you.